Good morning and welcome back to Sonnet Institute of Technology. My name is Bruce Malauzi and I'm an instructor for the Pentesting video course. This is module 4.2, gaining unauthorized access to a Windows disk. Before I start demonstrating to you, I'd like to walk you through some of the steps or some of the information which you might need to know. Gaining unauthorized access to a Windows disk is fairly simple because Windows machines by default do not encrypt the partitions or the data. So unencrypted data or disk is vulnerable to unauthorized access, and full disk encryption with TPM or virtual TPM is highly recommended, and this is a hardware level of encryption and it's very secure. Unencrypted Microsoft Windows disk are the most vulnerable today, as I said earlier on. And most Linux distros, including the modern Apple Macintosh, they encrypt their logical volumes during the initial installation of the operating system, whereas Microsoft Windows does not encrypt the drive partitions by default. So these are the steps which you will take in how to gain the unauthorized access to a Windows disk. So in this particular demonstration, we will try to retrieve data from 4 of the Windows 7 machines. They are labeled differently. All 4 machines are identical. They have been cloned. All 4 machines have the same disk structure, have the same file structure, and they all contain the same files which we'll be trying to retrieve from. All machine has a user configured. Username is Bruce, and that user has got a Windows login password. So all 4 machines are password protected. So assuming that we have access to those 4 machines, we are attempting to break in and retrieve the data without authorization. So the best thing is to boot that Windows machine or Windows system using any of the Linux live CD or DVD or USB. So you can Google search for a Linux live CD. Ubuntu is an example of a live CD. Linux Mint is also another example. We also have Kali Linux or Backtrack. They are also live CDs. So you can boot on any one of those and then you'll be able to gain access to the data. So this trick is the simplest of all if you want to gain access to a Windows disk, provided the disk has weak encryption mechanism or no encryption at all. So encrypted disk folders or files are resistant to this kind of trick. So if the disk and the files are encrypted, this trick won't work. So you need to use dedicated software and hardware to break into the disk and retrieve data. So we won't be focusing on the advanced level. This is more advanced, where you use dedicated hardware and software. So I cannot simulate this in my lab environment at this point of time, but I can simulate this trick here of using a Linux live CD. So without wasting time, let's get to the topology and see what we have. On our topology GNS3, I have 4 Windows machines, and these are Windows 7. All 4 are switched off at this point of time. The first machine has no encryption at all. The disk is not encrypted, no files are encrypted. It's just a plain Windows machine, a default installation. The second machine has a full disk encryption. The third machine has one folder that is encrypted, so we'll try to access that folder. And then the fourth machine has a file level encryption, so there is a file that is that single file that is encrypted. We will try to retrieve it. So without wasting time, if you have physical access to the machines, to the 4 machines, the easiest way is to download a Linux live CD ISO image, and then you bend that ISO image to a CD or DVD or USB. Once you do that, you insert your DVD or CD into the tray or your USB into the USB port. You switch on the machine, you go to the BIOS settings and specify the boot priority. Your system should boot from CD or DVD. If you are using a virtual environment, you switch off your appliance. If you are using GNS3, switch off your appliance. You right click on that machine, you go to configure, you go to disk DVD, and you select your image. Say browse here, and I will browse to that image, the ISO image. So I've got an ISO image here, and in this case I'm using the System Rescue CD. You can Google search for it and download. Okay, so the ISO image will upload into my GNS3 server. Once it's complete, you go to General Settings, then you go to Boot Priority, you change from HDD to CD-ROM, then you click OK. That's all you need to do on GNS3. If you are using KVM or VirtualBox or VMware or any other virtualization software, you switch off your appliance, you go to the virtual CD or DVD ROM, and then you select an ISO image. You go to the BIOS settings of that particular virtual machine or VM. You change the boot priority to disk and then hard drive. So your system should boot from the CD. Once you do that, you apply your changes, and then you can switch on your machine. So before I start booting this machine, let me revert those changes. So I'll go back and I'll change my boot priority to hard drive, and then I go to CD, DVD. I would like to remove that. So in this case, I'm reverting changes so that I can walk you through step by step. Okay, I click OK. So the changes have been reverted. We are back to normal. All 4 machines are identical. The settings are also identical. So now the first thing you need to do before you boot using a live CD is to boot the machine itself. Try to boot the Windows machine itself. You might be lucky to find that the machine is not configured with the login password. You might be lucky, so try to do that. And then if the machine is configured with the login password, we need the username or the user account for that user, so that we know when we break in, who are we, what files are we looking for, and where shall we look the files from. So in this case, I'll start with machine 1. So I will boot into Windows. Okay. Okay, the system is booted. Unfortunately, the system needs a login password, so I shouldn't waste time trying to guess the password. All I need to do is try to move on to step number 2 without wasting time. So without the password I cannot log in unless if I try to brute force. Brute force are not very efficient because they might take long, and I don't know how long the password is, so I might be wasting time. So what I need to do is just to shut down the appliance. Okay, the appliance is down. Now I need to right click, configure, change the boot priority to DVD CD-ROM, and then specify which CD ISO I need to use. So I'll go back to my live CD right here, which is the system rescue CD, and then upload it. Okay, then click OK. So I'll right click and start the appliance, and then double click to gain the console. So the system is booting from the live CD, so I can press enter. Press enter again. Okay, the system is ready, so I can pass the command clear so that I can clear the screen. Now I need to see if my drive has been detected. So the command is LSBLK, like that. So I can see that I've got a drive, SDA drive, which has 2 partitions. The first partition is SDA1, the second partition is SDA2. Now if you look at the size right here, SDA1 is 100 megabytes. That is a Windows hidden partition and has no valuable information that I'm looking for. SDA2 is 14.6 gigabytes in size, so that's where I can find all the juicy information from there. So I need to mount that partition. So before I mount, I have to check if my mount point is not in use. So I would like to mount it under media, so that will be LS and check, and there's nothing under media, so I can mount. So the command is mount /device /SDA2, and then I leave a space and type in media. So that partition will be mounted under media. Okay, it's not complaining, so it means it's been mounted. So if I do ls/media, there are my Windows files. As you can see, documents and settings, page files, page systems, users, Windows. So let's go in and try to retrieve the files. So that will be CD media, and I will go into users. So I know that the user Bruce exists, so we saw that when we tried to log in into Windows, into the Windows login. Okay, so if I do ls, here is my target, Bruce. So I will CD again into Bruce and check what Bruce has. And I'm not worried about the desktop at the moment. I need to find out what documents does Bruce have. So I will CD into documents. That will be CD documents. ls command to see what documents are there. Aha! There is a classified file directory. So this should contain all the juice I'm looking for. So I will do cd classified files ls to check what contents are there. I've got two secret folders here, the secret one, secret two. So let's see what secret one has for us. That will be cd secret one, then ls. I have a calendar and I also have credentials. So with curiosity, let's find out what credentials are there. Bravo. Username Bruce, the password, there it is in plain text. I've got the employee ID, I've got his email address, and I've got his social security number as well. Isn't that easy? Yes, it was easy. And I can also see what calendar he has, the contents of his calendar. You can see here's his calendar. New Year's Day was on the 1st. Back to work, that was on the 5th of January. And back to school, that was on the 12th of January, and so forth. And he gets paid on the 28th of every month. That's his calendar. So as a matter of fact, I have full access to this. Let's see on what we have in secret number 2. So that will be cd secret number 2 ls to see what contents are there, or team members. So I can catenate team members. Bruce's team members are Lisa Lopez, Bob Marley, Bruce Lee, John Doe, John Den. So we have full access to this disk. And remember, when we tried to log into the system, we were prompted for a password and we couldn't get into the system. But if you boot from a live CD, we have full access. So let me demonstrate on the GUI as well. The command is startx, so it will start a GUI. Okay, so can minimize this terminal shell and go to file system. Double click file system, then go to media. As you can see, all these are Windows files. Go to users, it doesn't require a password. Go to Bruce, no password required. And go to documents and go to classified files. Go to secret one and go to credentials. Okay, so as you can see, all the information is in plain text. I have full access, so I can see the credentials, I can see Bruce's secrets. Double click, that's his calendar. And let's go back to secret number 2. These are the team members. We can go back if you want to see more. Let's say you want to see his downloads. Okay, it's empty. You can go back. Let's see his desktop. It's empty. If I want to place a virus, I can do that. I can go to Windows and go to the system folder or directory, and I can place my viruses there into the root or the program files. It depends. So you can place your rootkit, you can place your Trojan, you can place any malware which you think of, and whenever Bruce comes back and switch on his machine, he has no clue that his machine has been compromised. Everything that we're doing here is loaded in the RAM, and there is no evidence that I broke into the system of whatsoever. So when the user comes back, you'll never notice that the system has been compromised. All the data has been stolen. So let's exit from here, and I can exit from there as well. and I can shut down this appliance. Our mission has been accomplished. We have full access to that machine. We saw all the data, we retrieved the data and everything. So I can shut down that appliance. Let's go back. Let's go to machine number 2, which has full disk encryption. So the steps are the same. You right click, configure, change the priority to CD, and then specify your disk ISO image. Okay, so our ISO image is here. Right, so I can click OK. So right click here, OK. Okay, so now the system should boot from CD. Double click to get the console, or you right click and say console. So I can just press enter and it will boot. Press enter again. Okay, so I can clear the screen at the moment. So if I do LSBLK command, you can see that I've got the disk SDA1 and it looks identical. The disk looks identical to the previous one, and the juicy information is under SDA2, which is 14.6 gig in size. So I can check my mount point to see if it's not in use. That will be ls/media. The mount point is empty, so now I can mount. So the command is mount /device /SDA2 space and then /media. Okay, I've got an error. The error reads NTFS signature is missing. The second line reads failed to mount /device /SDA2 invalid argument. The device SDA2 doesn't seem to have a valid NTFS file system. Maybe the wrong device is used, or the whole disk instead of partition. So why are we getting this error? This error is because the disk is encrypted. If a disk is encrypted, it's not accessible. You can try, by all means, try to mount it. You will have no luck on mounting it. So we have no access to the disk. We can try again to mount. Still no luck. Let's try to mount the Windows system partition, the hidden one, which is SDA1, and see if we have luck. No luck. So both partitions, SDA1 and SDA2, cannot be mounted. Why? Because they are encrypted. The system, the disk was fully encrypted, so you have no access, and I cannot access the data. So for this experiment, machine number 2, we have failed to access the data. So I can exit from here and shut down the appliance. Let's go to machine number 3. We do the same. You right click, you specify the boot priority to CD. You go to the CD and specify the ISO image and click OK. Then start the appliance and double click to get to the console. I press enter. Press enter again to confirm the keyboard. Okay, let me clear the screen. So we do the same steps. So we do LSBLK to see our drive. So as you can see, we have our juicy drive that is 14.6 in size. So the command is ls media, because I want to see if media is not in use. Okay, it's not in use. And then I can mount SDA2 where the juice is so that the command is mount /device SDA2, and our mount point is /media. Okay, it's not complaining, so it means it is mounted. So if I do ls media, as you can see, I can see some Windows files. So let's go into the Windows files. So that will be cd media, and I'm specifically looking for the user Bruce. So that's users, and then Bruce, and then documents. Okay, and then let's check Bruce's documents. So there's the classified folder. So I can cd into that classified files and ls. So I've got folder secret 1 and secret 2. In the previous demonstration, when I demonstrated on how to do encryption, the folder secret 1 was encrypted, but the folder secret 2 was not encrypted. So if I try to access secret 1, theoretically I should not have access because it's encrypted. And then if I try to access secret folder number 2, I should have access because it was not encrypted. So let's find out. So that will be cd secret 1, and okay, and then if I do ls, there is calendar and credentials files inside. So if I get the calendar, for example, as you can see, permission is denied. Why? Is it because we don't have read permissions? I don't think so. So if I do ls-l, as you can see, we have read, write, executable permissions for everyone. As you can see here, the file permissions are set to 7777. So why do we have no access? It's because the directory or the folder was encrypted. Can I read the credential files? No access as well. So access has been denied. Now can I go back and go to secret folder number 2? Okay, so let me cd to secret folder number 2. Okay, and ls, there's a file called team members. Can I read that file? Yes, I can read. Lisa Lopez, Bob Marley, Bruce Lee, John Doe, Jane Doe. So as I said, my theory was right. Secret folder number 1 we should not be able to read, but we should be able to read secret folder number 2. So I can shut down this machine because we are done. I can close that and shut it down. Let's go to machine number 4. So I can repeat the process, change the boot priority, and specify the ISO image to boot from, and start the machine. Double click for the console, press enter. Press enter again. Okay, so I will clear the screen, and LSBLK is the command to check if our disk are available. Yes, SDA2 is our disk of interest. So I'll check if my mount point is not in use. Okay, it's not in use. And then I will also mount that disk, so that will be SDA2, and place it under media. Okay, that is a common error if your Windows was not shut down properly, but as a matter of fact, it doesn't affect us from reading the disk. So let me clear the screen. So if I do ls/media, I can see there are some Windows files which I can see here. So I will cd into media and go straight to users, to Bruce. I'll go straight to documents. Okay, and then ls. Now I have this classified directory, so that will be cd classified and then ls, and let me go to secret number 1, so that will be secret number 1. Okay, so inside secret number 1, the file credentials was encrypted in the previous module when we were doing encryption. So the credentials was encrypted, but the calendar was not encrypted. So in this experiment, where I'm expecting to be able to read the calendar, but not to read the credentials. So let's find out. So that will be cat calendar. Yes, I can read the calendar, as you can see. Now can I read the credential file? Access is denied. And if you check the permission is 777. So why don't we have access? Because that file is encrypted. You do not have access. You can try by all means, but access, you will be denied no matter what you do. So you need the right key to decrypt. So this is how we do it, and I've shown you the differences. Let me shut down this appliance and shut it down again. So I've showed you how this is done, and the differences as well on the encryption level. And in the next part, I will try to explain to you the outcome of this experiment, and walk you through and see the differences and what I recommend to you to protect yourself from such attacks. So as a pen tester, you need to know this, and as a forensics investigator, you need to know this as well, in case you need to break into the suspect system machine. So now I'm back. I've booted one of the machines, and I'll log in as Bruce. So assuming that Bruce is back on his machine, and we would like to see if Bruce can see that his machine was compromised. So I'll log in. Okay, I can cancel that. Okay, so if you go under Bruce's documents, you go under documents here and classified files, and the files, this one was encrypted, the credentials, as you can see, and the calendar, as you can see. So this user has no idea that someone was or has copied some of the unprotected files from them, and this user has no clue. So this is how you break into the system and grab all the juicy data from them. So I can shut down this appliance because I'm done here. so that will be shut down. Now let's conclude our lesson, and in this lesson all 4 machines were configured with a login password before we began experimenting. So here are the conclusions. Machine 1, which was unencrypted, the attacker had full access to all the partition, folders and files stored on the Windows drive. And then on machine number 2, which had full disk encryption, the attacker had no access of whatsoever to those partitions or folders and files stored on the disk. Machine number 3, which had folder level encryption, the attacker had full access to the partitions, to the folders, to the files, except for the encrypted folder. Machine number 4, which had file level encryption, the attacker had full access to the partition, to the folders, to the files, except for the encrypted files. And who is the winner? The winner is machine number 2. Why? Because in machine number 2 we had no access of whatsoever to the data stored on the disk, because there was full disk encryption and it prevented us from gaining access. And who is the loser? Machine number 1 is the loser, because we had full access to the disk and we managed to retrieve almost all the data from that. And who are the runners? Machine 3 and 4, they provided partial protection against unauthorized access to the data. So what is the motive of this story? The motive of this story is, please use full disk encryption at all times. You never know when you lose your laptop. You never know when someone will break into your house or office or data center. They can get valuable information from your system. But if you have full disk encryption and you happen to lose your laptop, to lose your mobile device, or if someone breaks into your house or office and steals a desktop, you know that your data is secure. Data cannot be retrieved without a proper decryption key. I would like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.